important area of evolutionary biology. It's understanding how groups of organisms are related to each other. And that refers to the study of phylogeny. So the word itself refers to the origin of a tribe or a race or a group of organisms. So phylum in Greek means tribe, while genetic in this case, like Genesis or genao in Greek, it means to give birth or the origin of in this case. So in order to understand phylogeny, we'll need to learn what characters are, what evolutionary trees are, and what are cladograms, and so on. But two words that you have heard and used before are systematics and taxonomy. And those two words are used interchangeably to mean classification. Taxonomy nowadays refers mostly to organizing or classifying mostly by morphology. So we are all taxonomists in our daily lives, and we organize our socks by color and thickness and length, etc. And we organize our silverware and so on. Systematics refers to relationships in between groups of organisms through evolutionary perspective. So they are organized in an evolutionary, reflecting the evolutionary connections to each other. So again, phylogeny refers to the origin of a tribe or a race or a group of organisms, and it's very similar to genealogy. It's actually the same thing, but at a much larger scale. So instead of just families and just humans, all life on Earth. And in order to follow phylogeny, we need to look at heritable traits. So what exactly do heritable traits, what are heritable traits? So we talk about characters, and characters are heritable traits that are inherited, and they can be measured. And they can be physical, but they could be behavioral, and they could be biochemical. So physical are very similar to the taxonomic approach, morphology and anatomy. And looks are very important to determining phylogeny and relationships, relative relationships, but behavioral as well, right? So you can look at offsprings and you can tell they have behavioral characters that they inherited from their forefathers. And then biochemical features can refer to anything but from your DNA sequence of nucleotides or protein sequence of amino acids, but also to anything else that is biomolecule. So scent and color, etc. So we know that each species is connected to other species according to their particular characters. So, for example, this particular lily of the valley has a very characteristic scent, a beautiful, very strong characteristic scent. So besides being cultivated as ornamental, it's also cultivated for perfume production. And speak about perfumes, this lilac plant also has a very characteristic fragrance. And in this case, it has a very characteristic color as well. So we can call this mauve or purple, but we can call it lilac because the color is so characteristic to this particular species of plants. But cultivars of lilac can be white. So if you look at them, do you determine that they're the same species or not? What other characteristics can you use to determine the phylogeny or the phylogenetic relationships? So in this case, we look at three different groups of animals, and we have several different characteristics, so several heritable traits that are measurable. So do they have warm blood or not? Apparently all three are warm-blooded. Do they have hair or not? Do they produce milk? Do they have teeth, etc.? So these are the three groups of organisms. So we know there are numerous species of birds and several species of bats and even several species of dolphins. But they have this in common. They're all warm-blooded, and but they have different temperatures. So the body temperature of a bird is similar to what we call for humans high fever. So it's about 104 or 40, so 104 Fahrenheit or 40 degrees Celsius for most birds. While a bat and a dolphin share the same body temperature similar to humans, around 98.8. But other organisms in this group, so other mammals such as dogs and cats, could be warmer as well. But overall, they're warm-blooded as compared to reptiles or fish or other groups that are not warm-blooded. What's intriguing here, we know that birds have feathers and not hair, but did you know that dolphins are also born with hair? And later on, they have hair follicles, but it's not advantageous to have hair while you swim because that will slow you down. And actually, in fact, that's why speed swimmers and professional swimmers either wear clothing to improve hydrodynamics, or they shave themselves. But because so dolphins are a mammal, and they're a mammal because they have mammary glands that produce milk to feed their young. So a character, a heritable, measurable trait of mammals includes the presence or absence of hair, and they both have it. So if we look at all of these characteristics, we can determine relationships in between, or phylogenetic relationships in between groups of organisms. And traditionally or historically, people were using morphology and then later anatomy. And that could be helpful, and most of the time is, but that could be also misleading. So for example, in this picture here, you'd see two organisms that look very much alike with just the absence of the back flippers in dolphins. But otherwise, they have adapted to the same locomotion in water, and they have an overall similar body structure. But if we look at their phylogeny as we understand it today, we realize that Ichthyosaurus, or in translation, the fish lizard, ichthyology is the study of fish, saurus means lizard, so the fish lizard in this case, comparative to dolphins, which we know they're mammals, you will see that they're quite far away related. They are related because if we go far away enough, all life on Earth is related to each other. But they are from two very long ago differentiated sister groups. Okay. Another example is comparing the great panda versus the red panda. So even though they could look similar, and they do look similar because they are related, you will find out that they are they are separating earlier than they are not both bears. Let's put it that way. So, so by size, so the picture doesn't show you size. A great panda, can get to 150, 160 pounds. While a red panda, it's somewhere in between 6 and 16 pounds. So it's more the size of a cat than the size of a bear. And if we look at the phylogeny of these two groups, and then, so the phylogeny of the red panda, so this is red panda, and the name stands for cat and bright orange cat, if you wish to translate that like that. this is still slightly controversial, so it's not very clear if the red panda that looks more or less like raccoon is related to the raccoons or not. So, but that's as far as the analysis go today, they are more related to raccoons and skunks and weasels, and apparently, even though they both are now present in China, so the red panda might have evolved in North America and might have reached China through the Bering landmass during the last glaciation, and now retreated to areas of China. So you can see in this picture they're both eating bamboo, but it turns out that they're actually both carnivores, and they both can eat invertebrates or eggs or smaller animals, even though they do, a large part of their diet includes several species of bamboo. So they are related, but even though large greater panda is from the group of bears, Ursidae, and it shares the genus name, partial of genus name, just to show the similarities. It's a total different genus name. Obviously, it's in a different family. So the name will stand for cat foot or footed cat or something like that, and this one stands for black and white according to its color versus fulgens, which was orange. So traditional classification could be misleading. Evolutionary classification that it's today based on DNA nucleotide sequence or amino acid sequence in proteins, it's following evolutionary classification. And in order to determine that, it's referring to a common ancestor or